you get days when there are mysterious patterns in the world, and nobody knows what they are, and you get them, and there's no avoiding them. You're in for a bad day, and you get one, and that's just what you get. I was I used to live in Norwich, which is a place I'm very glad I don't live in anymore. But I was going on a journey down to London, hitching down, and it was one of those days. And I'd gone down to the bus station because I thought I'll get a bus just out of town to get onto the A11, and it's a better place to hitch from. It's only a little trip down the road. And I'm waiting at the bus station, and the bus pulls in, and a dear old lady comes down the steps of the bus. And as she got to the bottom of the bus, I was standing back to let her off. Poor old soul had a fit of some kind and started thrashing about and foaming and whatnot, and she'd gone down on her knees and grabbed hold of my legs. Well, I knew with epileptic fits you have to put something in the mouth, and I think I got a magazine in my pocket which I tried to put in her mouth, because she really was having a fit. But there were plenty of people around, and nobody was doing anything except me. And again, it was one of these things where policemen appeared from nowhere. And this Norfolk copper turns up, and I mean, he was just like, with Larry the Lamb and all that, Mr. Ernest. And the poor woman was still there doing this, and he was asking me for my name and address, or what I was doing. So anyway, I managed to prise the poor old lady off, and she grabbed hold of him by that point. And I just got on the bus and sat there hoping it would all go away, which it did finally. Anyway, the bus took off, dropped me off at the outskirts of town. I was waiting there, and I got a lift, and this car pulled up. And it was a bit, I couldn't work out at first, but it was a left-hand drive, and it was an American serviceman driving a German car with a left-hand drive. So I was sitting in the driver's seat. Well, I don't drive, and there was me stuck in the seat, and he's asking me about, is it all clear to overtake? Well, I mean, if you're not used to all that business, I was very nervous. So anyway, we did. I got the hang of it in the end, and it wasn't too bad. And then he starts giving me all this about how fit he was, and how he'd been trained, and he kept himself really fit, and he was absolutely in tip-top condition, and all the rest of it. And then crept into the conversation about, and they don't seem to know what's wrong with me, and then there's nothing wrong with me, and there's definitely nothing wrong with me going on. So I was going, oh, fine. And then at one point I said, okay, yeah, you're okay to overtake this one, and we're just halfway round this lorry in front, and he collapses over the wheel with I thought, oh God, not another one, they're dropping like bloody flies. So he's clutching his heart, and I thought, well, I don't know what the hell to do, but he seemed to be managing with the steering. Anyway, we got round this lorry and carried on. I said, look, are you okay? Do you want to stop and get sorted out? And I immediately there's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine, and he's the fittest he's ever been for years. So I said, okay, fine, yeah. So we keep going, and he said, anyway, I'll be dropping you off a bit further down the road, which he did, and he pulled in on the right-hand side of the road to a phone box. So he gets out the car, and he says he's phoning into the hospital to let them know that he's back. So I don't know what it was, whether he'd escaped or... the whole thing was a bit peculiar, but by this time I was just relieved to get out of the car. So I'm standing there waiting for another lift, and lo and be what's named, a car comes along, and it's a police car. And the guy, they'd seen me get out of the car and walk across the road, and the American in the car had doubled up over the wheel again. So they went across, looked at him, came back, looked at me, said, what's going on? I said, I don't know, he and told them all that had happened. So they said, right, wait there. So I thought, well, I said, really, it's nothing to do with me, I never met the guy before, you have to sort it out from his end. I should think he wants an ambulance, if anything, like I'm no good to him. But they went over and carried on staring at this poor bloke hunched up over the steering wheel. Anyway, I thought, well, I might as well start hitching again, so I thumbed the lift. And another car pulled up, so I get in that, and I'm carrying on my little way to London. And they seemed to let us go. They didn't follow us or anything. Anyway, we're going off along the road, and I was in a bit of a sweat just in case we started getting followed by this police car. Anyway, the bloke's driving along and he seemed a very jolly chap at first, but it turned out he was in the Salvation Army. Well, I mean, you know, there's nothing wrong with that if he wants to be in the Salvation Army, but then he starts giving me, you know, how things go in these patterns. He starts giving me lectures about how he lives his life very right, and do I live my life right, and do I mix with the right sort of people, and do I do the right kind of... So I thought, well, you know, I could put up with this. Anyway, I get my fags out, and there's no smoking. So we're flying along with him, and it gets more and more intense about, it ends up with, have I seen the devil? And I don't think so. But we're driving along and he starts staring me in the eyes and he says, I can tell you have set your eyes on the devil sometime in your life. So I said, he was probably this Yankee in the last car, you know. So I started telling him that story, and he wasn't, he said, they were, you know, he said, there's people like you, said, that's what happens, you know, when you've set eyes on the devil. So anyway, we're going along a bit further. Luckily, he goes off the road, and we've got to Bishop Stortford, I think, somewhere. And he said, I'll drop you off in town because that's where I'm going. And I thought, that's great, I can get a train from there and I don't have to get any more lunatics. So he drops me off in town. I'm walking through Bishop Stortford Saturday afternoon, and then I knew something was wrong again. I could see in the distance this figure weaving through the crowd. And, you know, you get these terribly agonised, tearful drunks, you know, so, oh, you know, moaning, groaning, all the rest of it. And I could see him 100 yards off, and I thought, perhaps I have seen the devil, that's the one for me. So I crossed over the other side of the road. He crosses over the other side of the road. Anyway, I dodge about a bit in the people, and I think I've lost him. I'm just walking along, and he leaps out of a shop doorway, puts his arms around me and starts sobbing all over me. And guess what comes next? Policeman. And he does nothing again. 3 inactive policemen. I mean, you know, they do a very good job and all that, but I mean, some of them are a little slow at it. There's this guy all over me, sobbing even and whatnot, and the guy's asking me who I am, who he is, daughter. Anyway, we finally get disentangled. I get in the train. I'm cowering in the train. Get to London. Get to my mate's place in Clapham. I get there and I'm shaking like a leaf. He said, do you want anything to eat? And I said, really, I'm a bit... I don't think I could eat anything at the moment. You know, my stomach's like a nut. He said, well, come on, we'll pop out for a drink. So we pop out for a drink, and he's a bit of a playwright and a lad, and he was one of the first people I ever knew who had his hair hennaed. And he'd been over to Holland and bought a nice big pair of Dutch clogs, but then he thought they were boring, so he painted them silver. And we went in this Irish pub down the road, and we get in there, and he comes in with his hennaed hair and silver clogs, and we get in there and I start going on about the police, and as soon as I started saying police, I noticed these little sort of antennae pricking up at either end of the bar, and lo and behold, there's 2 heavy MI5 people or something, you know, lurking about in this Irish pub, posing as innocent citizens, hoping to pick up something to their advantage, sort of staring at me, shaking like a leaf, with a double whiskey and a pint of Guinness, and him in his silver clogs and henna. Anyway, they finally decided to remain inactive, so I was okay. So we went back to his place, and I eventually had a good night's kick. But there's a pattern to these things, isn't there?